Okay, we are back with another Between the Pages book chat, and today we have fantasy author E.G. Stone with us to talk about her series, The Wing Cycle. And I'll turn it over to her now and let her introduce herself. So take it away.
Alrighty. Hello. It's fantastic to be here, even though I haven't actually left the house in a while. Welcome to pandemic life, I suppose. As she said, I am E.G. Stone. I write fantasy and sci-fi, and I do book reviews, author interviews, causing trouble, etc. So yeah, today I'll be talking about The Wing Cycle. I have book one here in case anyone wants to ooh and ah at the cover that I did not get anywhere close to designing because I'm not graphically oriented. So this is why we hire professionals.
Yeah, well, you hire professionals. I actually do my own covers, but
Well, some people are more talented in that area
yeah,
than I am.
yeah. Well, it's a long, hard one talent. Trust me, because
Oh,
my early covers were crap. So, and you can still see them on Goodreads if you're inclined.
I'm
But
curious.
yeah, good for a laugh. But anyway, so tell us about this series. What's it about?
The Wing Cycle follows a Sylph society, I guess you would say, who was separated from humans centuries back. And so one of the Sylphs, the main character, is called Ravenna, and she actually gets captured by humans, which she was pretty sure didn't exist. Um, and the humans were pretty sure that she didn't exist, and it kind of went downhill from there. And I introduced various societies and political machinations, and I accidentally started a war, and there was a dragon, and there's a lot going on. But I promise you, it does actually make sense, or at least I've been told it makes sense. So it's not just me thinking that.
Yes, okay, yes. Dragons seem to be very popular on this show too. So join the dragon family of Between the Book Chat. So Between the Pages book chat. I'm curious though why you went with Sylphs and how your creations differ from, say, the folklore and the myths around the Sylphs.
Okay, sure. Yeah, sylphs are technically speaking, according to folklore on this planet, air elemental type beings, various different backgrounds and cultures. It sort of depends on which culture you're looking at. I mean, you're going to get different ones from Persian versus Greek versus etc. Mine are what we would call angels. Um, they look like people with wings. However, they were way, way back before any of my books started, created into their current shape because they wanted to interact physically with the world. So they got some people who could do magic and turned into the form that I use in the books. And it caused various amounts of problems, which I will probably not get into in any book in the near future, but possibly side lore.
Yeah, or prequels.
Or prequels. Oh, I always forget that you can do prequels.
Yeah. Prequels are great when you want to do backstory.
Yeah. Ooh, okay. There's an idea. Where's my pen? I might need to actually write that down. Ha. Cool. Okay.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about the main character. What's she like?
Ravenna has a few difficulties fitting into more Sylph society. I can't actually reveal all of the reasons why, because a lot of that's revealed in the third book. But basically, she doesn't look like the other Sylphs, and her wings are about half the size. So she can't actually fly, because physics is still a thing, even in fantasy novels, as much as I wish I could just ignore all the rules. You actually have to have proper lift and whatnot to get a human-sized being into the air, even if they have semi-hollow bones like birds. I believe I did the math on this to figure out how large wings needed to be, and I think the span was anywhere from 16 to 30 feet, depending on the size and weight of the person. So hers are quite a bit smaller at 10 feet of a span, which gives her a few problems with relating to the Sylphs who fly about and do all the things that you can do with wings. So to balance this, she takes up the ancient art of Dalketh, which is sort of Tai Chi if we only had wings to do it with. It's a series of movements that helps you gain control of your body and able to do what you want. And this actually helps her later on when she gets captured by the people, because turns out, and I am going to offer just a tiny spoiler, which is more cultural than anything, Dalketh is an ancient military art. So, yep, that's been forgotten by the Sylphs, and she rediscovers this in the midst of many, many trials, which I do feel a little bit bad about. Just a little bit bad.
Okay, so what were your inspirations or your reasons for writing the series?
Okay, now you get into the questions I don't actually have answers to. My brain is a little weird in that ideas kind of just appear, and then I write stuff down and it all makes sense.
Well, that's an answer. Your brain is weird. This is what inspires you.
I think we just
I can relate.
Yeah, my brain is weird. I have come to accept this. I'm pretty sure my brain is smarter than I am, so we'll just.
Yeah, I was
leave
just
it at
wondering if it was a particular bit of folklore or mythology that inspired you, or did you just kind of pull everything into a big.
I actually did most of the research after the fact, as I was creating some lore for future background use, and also in the follow-on series to this. So a lot of the lore research that I did didn't happen until after book 1 was written. So,
Oh, that's cool.
Such is the way of things.
That's just write your story and then make all the folklore fit. The other way around.
Pretty much, yeah. Yep. The life of a writer. I'm not writing nonfiction, so I can be a little imprecise with my facts.
Okay, so Joe likes that. Okay, so tell us a little bit about the world. I mean, how old is it? What's the political structure, religion?
Sure.
Whatever.
So the world I've set this in is called Taloria. We don't actually get to see most of the world. I will show you the map that I put in here as soon as I can find it. Ooh, I don't know if that shows up very well.
Oh, it's not too bad.
Okay, so this is the general setting for this series. However, there is actually a lot more of the world. I created the world. Ooh, how many years ago was that? I was a wee lass when I first created this world, and there's a lot of history that goes into things that I can't actually talk about because I will be writing several future books involving said history, so spoilers. But basically, the general idea is that this book takes place 1,000 years after what I call the Darkening, which is the general decline of civilization based on a specific event, the Fire Wars, which is the subject of my next series. So I don't know. I can't actually tell you huge amounts because there's more things to be written. So
yeah. So no, we don't want spoilers. This is a spoiler-free show. Okay, so what was the hardest scene or type of scene for you to write in the series?
Well, there's two possibilities for that one. One being the interpersonal relations when you're having difficult relationships between the characters, because that's always complicated. And how do you get them to resolve arguments in a realistic fashion without actually ruining the story? Because people don't act like you would see in a story 99% of the time. I tried to make it a little bit realistic, but I'm not sure it always worked. And the other one would be action scenes, because while I can think through each movement and how it flows into the next one and such, I'm writing that out in such a manner that it flows well and you can still imagine all the action is really hard.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, you raise the sword and then you do the thing with the other person reacting, and It's
Yeah.
harder than it looks or
Yeah.
sounds.
Well, I have a little advantage there because I took fencing, so I know movement with the
Sure,
sword. So
sure. And I can do a lot of the hand-to-hand stuff based on my own martial arts experience, but knowing how to do it and knowing how to write about it,
yeah,
I have discovered they're not the same thing.
no, they're not. Yeah, and it's the martial arts scenes that always trip me up because I have no experience in that. So it's like, yeah, does it sound right? Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah. So what was your favorite scene or type of scene that you wrote in the series?
Ooh. Ooh, that one's really hard because I have several favorite scenes in the whole series. But I think my favorite one, at least in this book, is the very last one. And it was the very first one that I actually wrote because it just hit my head and said, oh, yeah, that would be great. And I'd like to tell you about it. But again, it's the end of the book. So, I mean, I can do a tiny bit that will make little sense unless you've read the book. But I can't. Just, it's dramatic and I had fun with it and I like defying expectations.
Ooh, very intriguing.
I want to give you more, but also, like, I can't. So, sorry.
So, do you have any secondary characters that are a little quirky or like to steal scenes from the main character?
Oh, yes. Oh, all the time. My favorite of the secondary characters is Miska. He is a deaf person who lives in the Red Desert and serves Queen Lenore, who is another fairly important character in the series. And so he is perpetually cheerful despite having lost his hearing due to rather violent circumstances. And he does his best to make Ravenna feel at home. But I mean, he turned into a far more important character than I had originally anticipated. And he becomes rather important in book 2 when we really meet our dragon, who I also can't tell you about yet. I feel bad, but all of this is sequential, and it's hard to talk about a full series when people haven't necessarily read the first book.
So, do you have a favorite character? And it's acceptable to say no, because several people have.
I mean, I like all my characters. No, probably not. Probably not a favorite. I mean, I could probably pick out 3 or 4 that were a cut above the rest, but they're also like the stars of the story. So, no.
Okay. So, and Joe likes your teasers. So,
I'm not trying to tease. I'm just trying to tell things without actually giving spoilers away.
okay. So, if you were to hang out in real life with a character, who would it be?
Probably Miska, because I'm pretty sure all the others would try to kill me in one form or another. Just saying. I was not entirely nice to them.
We've had that answer before too. So.
I mean, it all turned out relatively okay. I will tell you, I don't kill off any of the main characters because I'm just not that sort of writer. But I'm also not terribly nice to them either. So yeah, Miska's probably my safest option.
Okay, so what are your characters afraid of?
Ooh. That's a good one. Ravenna is probably... this one's hard. She's afraid of being left alone, but also she doesn't want to necessarily conform to the expectations that people place on her because she doesn't really like the people that she hangs out with all that much at first. She's a loner. She doesn't really get along with her family or friends until later on in the story. But also being alone is terrible and hard, and especially for people who are not okay with themselves in general, being alone is hard. Yeah. Miska is... Ooh, that one's even harder. He's probably afraid of letting people down. because his whole life kind of revolves around helping other people and trying to make people smile and whatnot. Letting them down is really, really hard for him. Um, the main villain of the story, Davarin, is absolutely terrified of not having his legacy be louder than his family's. He comes from a very influential family, and he wants to be just as good or great, even better than they do. And it doesn't always end well for him. Yeah, I tried. I will tell you, his has an unconventional end. Um, that's probably the simplest way to put it.
Okay, I know you've written a couple of other books, and you said you've written in sci-fi as well. So why don't you tell us a little bit about those?
All right. My sci-fi, cyberpunk slash dystopian type novel is called Speaker of Words. Um, I had fun with that one. So I have a degree in linguistics, and I used that to go and explore how language influences people's thoughts and behaviors. And I built a whole society that was centered around changing the definitions of certain words so that people were more in line with what they wanted. Sort of Newspeak from 1984, but a little bit more involved. Not quite so blatant throughout the book. It's a very subtle thing. And then I have the main antagonist to the Republic, which is the Society. I can't tell you if this person is the main antagonist in the story. That is actually up to the readers to decide. But Skatoa is trying to educate people about what words actually mean and how using specific words and language can change the entire world. Yeah, that one is not as clear cut as far as the ending, because it really depends on how you as a reader come at the book and what you think should be done or not done. And I had huge amounts of fun with that. I mean, anything playing with language, and I'm like super happy.
Yeah, well, I think that sort of thing goes over better in sci-fi than say fantasy as well. So yeah, sounds interesting.
Yeah, it was fun. I got to do conlang invention and a little bit nerded out on that one. Just a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah. I have another author friend who does the conlang stuff for her sci-fi books too. So I'm familiar with the term and the invention of languages.
Yeah, it's a soft spot in
Yeah,
my life. I wrote my undergraduate thesis on conlangs and representation in various forms of fiction, and it was great fun.
I'm far lazier when I do my magic languages. I just do a loose Google translation, then scramble the words until it looks good. So
Sure, I've done that too. It's all
well,
fun.
yeah. Luckily, the magic language is only a teeny tiny part of it, so probably nobody notices. But yeah, that's how I do it. If you've been wondering.
No, it works. It works.
Okay, so do you have any new projects coming up?
Um, yes and no, but mostly yes. So I have a series that's meant to be released this summer called On Behalf of Death. It is focusing on Death hires a marketing agent because, I mean, if you think about it, Death really does need some marketing help. So he hires Calthorpe, and it goes badly.
Yes, it does.
That's pretty much the tagline for the entire series. Is this happens and then it went worse.
Actually, that sounds very interesting to me. I'll have to keep an eye out for that one. I like books on death, so
Yeah, well, Death and Life are both main characters. Turns out Life is the one you have to look out for. She's kind of, okay, great fun to write. So that one is an urban fantasy. It takes place, well, the first book is solving a mystery that Death didn't actually kill somebody. We're not sure how yet. book 2 goes back to the Renaissance and we get to meet Machiavelli, and then I've got death and taxes, and death goes on vacation, and Cal has to step in. And I had fun with it. Just anything I can do to cause trouble in that series, I do.
Yeah,
and then
well,
I'm also
that's definitely something to look forward to, I was going to say.
Yeah, and then I'm also working on the follow-on series to this one, which is the Fire Wars saga, and that will involve both the aftermath of the Wing Cycle and what happened at the very beginning of the Darkening. So, sorry, my dog is barking. Thank you, Sammy. That's super helpful. So, yeah, that one is still in progress. I'm still working on book 1. I'm farther into it than I expected at this point to be. But I'm hoping to have book 1 out by end of year, and I believe it will also be a trilogy. That's what I've got planned at the moment. But sometimes it might take more than one book, so we'll see.
Okay, so I think we'll wrap it up here, and I'd like to thank you for being here, and I'd also like you to tell everyone where they can find you and your books.
Okay. You can find my website is egstone.com. It should have all of the books there, just in case you're curious. And then Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff. My tag is EGS Writer. And I think that's everything. Oh, I guess I do YouTube book reviews too, but that's all. All the links are on my website, I promise.
Yeah, and I have linked the website down below in the description. Slightly
marvelous.
belatedly, but it's there now.
Description links. I'm really terrible about saying, like, oh, you can actually find me places.
Yeah, okay. And Joe has one last comment for you.
I mean, yes, this is accurate. She's chaotic and unpredictable and super awesome, but also really terrifying.
Mm. Okay, so again, thank you for being here. It was a lovely chat today.
Oh, thanks for having me.
And Between the Pages, we'll be back next weekend. And we will also have a special premiere sometime this week or next week to replace the chat that unfortunately got canceled yesterday. So look out for that as well. So that's bye for now.